out before.
As an international cricket journalist for 10 years, I tell you what, I have got a collection of international SIM cards that I will never truly understand. Now I find there is a company called Sally who gives you an eSIM, and it makes it all so much easier. So if you're planning on making any trips, download your Sally eSIM app, and you can also get a 15% discount if you say good areas, all one word, at checkout. Travel like a pro with your Sally eSIM today.
Hello, and welcome to Good Areas Live. I'm Behram Qazi, who you can find at DefMango on Twitter. And with me, as always, is Jarrod Kimber, who you can find literally everywhere. And we've got a few comments already. Genius Genie is in the house, as is Walking Alive. And then we've got a super chat as well, which we'll get to shortly, by BoxBox, Soham Chatterjee, Swapan Jain, and yeah, all of you guys are over here. So welcome to you. And how's it going, Jarrod? How's the studio coming along?
Internet's a bit of an issue, but I mean, we've solved it in the short term, and we have some interesting discussions coming up about how we're going to do it in the long term. Elon Musk, as usual, has been completely useless and hasn't been able to Starlink us up. So yeah, no, it's good. We're getting there, man. We're getting there. It's still a little bit. Do
you plan to do something with the wall, or is it always going to be like a wooden plank?
No, we are going to put something on it. We'll probably I think what we're going to do is have a blackboard here, but we're just trying to work out how to do it at the moment. And I'm just waiting for Moku to make his final decisions on everything. But yeah, you probably won't see a lot of wood once we get it all done. I've got a wooden cabin of which I am hiding all of the wood.
Yeah, well, busy day for you, I'm guessing, today with the double header. And I got like 2 hours of sleep. And then I had to wake up for the Pakistan game, and then I watched a lot of the IPL. So right now I am dying because I just came back from the Pro Sports studio. Also, just before we get started, I had this very random thought, and this is completely random. It has nothing to do with cricket. But if you had named Clementine Kimberly, her name would be Kimberly Kimber.
Yeah, there's a reason we didn't do it.
Anyway, the premise of today's show is the new rules at the IPL. And before we actually get to the new rules, I mean, the IPL has sort of now built a reputation for itself, Jarrod, which introduces these radical new rules, right? Think of the 2 bounces thing that came in last year. We obviously have Hawkeye data for the no ball check, and now we have that for wides as well. And, impact subs and all of that stuff. But my question to you is, why do they wait for like the 11th hour to decide on these rules? Like, why is it a day before the IPL that we get to know about them?
It's pretty common in T20 tournaments, weirdly, and I don't really understand the reason for it. And we don't really even do stuff like that for World Cups, which again should be involved. The Hawkeye thing we must have known for ages, right? Like, once they did no balls, I was like, well, the next one is going to be wides because that just makes a lot more sense. And watching some of the calls in the SA20, I was just like, oh my God, just bring in, if you've got the technology, just bring it in. Instead of third umpires trying to judge how far someone's moved across and everything. So
how would the wides technology work in the BPL?
For some of those wides, you may not need to run the technology. Can you imagine there's one game, it'll probably be a T10 league somewhere where someone will appeal for a wide when they've bowled a dot ball. Yeah, that was definitely a wide, guys. I'm going to need that called.
Yep. The bowling side appealing for the wide.
So I think you're right. I think it was a little bit last minute and everything. But I would assume that what they've done is they've done it when everyone's together. Whereas actually the way they should have done it is a Zoom call, right? But to be fair, I've been on a lot of Zoom calls with players. They're not always awake for them. So that might be the reason they waited for them to be around.
When they have the auction, right, which is a couple of months prior to the actual tournament, they could decide these things then. I mean, I was reading somewhere that even the impact sub rule kind of got a green signal right at the last moment for this season.
It did, yeah.
Yes, I mean, what's that all about? Because we were told a few months ago that was for sure here to stay, at least for this season.
The only league where I've ever been involved in this was the CPL. And about a month after the tournament, we had our first meeting, which was owners /GM/CEO type people. And the conversation started there, right? But even then I felt that they're not going to confirm all this until 2 weeks before. It's a cricket problem. Cricket waits until the last minute for all these things. Realistically, you're right. A lot of these things. Also, just from a news perspective, the IPL has not yet started owning the entire calendar's news, right?
Yeah.
Releasing things like this when there's a test match on and England are playing New Zealand or something, perfect timing. Do you know what I mean? There's perfect times that you can drag the media back to you. Oh, you guys are watching cricket at the moment. How about this? You can spit on balls now.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to come to the wet balls, of course, but I kind of want to start with the wides, right? Because of course it was the IPL that introduced reviewing wides in the first place, which I love, by the way. I think all of cricket should have that, but they have kind of made that more efficient now by involving Hawkeye tech, because the line moves with the batter. So if the batter has moved 1 foot towards a right-hand batter, I suppose, has moved 1 foot towards his left, then the wide line also moves with him. And it's also there for height, which is basically the no-ball tech, but now they've applied it to wides, from my understanding. Although it is important to note that the leg side wide can still be reviewed because they don't have that tech for that. So we'll still see, wides reviewed.
No, I mean, well, we're still seeing them reviewed, yeah, for sure. I suppose the next SIG. Sorry about that, everyone.
Bless
I
you.
couldn't reach the mute. I moved too far back from my computer. I think I mean, eventually we need to be able to work out the entire system. But yes, this is much better. It makes sense. Look, I wrote about this for Cricinfo like a decade ago. Like, once Hawkeye technology was on the field, why would you not use it correctly? And
Yeah.
I used it for the same thing with the no balls, right? Like, I got in a big fight with an Indian TV producer about this when I just said, we just need to use technology. And he said, but the curvature of the ground. I said, yeah, but we could just watch it. Like, the technology that we have at the moment with the third umpire just watching the no balls is better. And that's, of course, eventually what they brought in. And it's the same with this. I think it's, for some of these leagues, it's hard. And also, let's say you're a small league who has Hawkeye. Not all the T20 leagues have Hawkeye, remember. But let's say you're a small league who has T20, has Hawkeye. You might not be able to talk Hawkeye into doing this for you. Whereas my guess is with the IPL, they can just say that. Now that technology exists, and it might be cheaper for everyone else as well going ahead. But so I think someone had to play the big card and say we wanted it. But yeah, it just makes sense. Wide calls are so bad. There was one, I want to say it was in the game today, where Pat Cummins was coming around the wicket. I think it was Pat Cummins. And it was like, he's coming around the wicket. The ball is pitched on the line. It passes inside the line and then goes further on the angle inside. And it was called a wide. What are we doing here, guys? Like, and I recently, I'll tell you this, I recently complained to the ICC about a whole over of wides that were given in a associate game, where I said, this umpiring is not up to scratch. I'm not happy with this. I think the umpire got put off by the batter moving around and everything. It's really hard. I'm not having a go at the umpires. It's really hard to do that.
Also,
and so once you move the batter, it changes.
I've also sensed this, that I've, times seen or watched international cricket games, and I see a wide and I'm like, oh, that's not a wide in the IPL. Like, instantly my mind goes there, right? So it's one of those things that, if technology is solving an issue, plus you've got the smart replays, right, in the IPL where everyone can see everything at the same time, and you basically essentially save time, which is a big, thing in international cricket as well, with over rates and all of that crap. So
that wasn't it the 100 who brought that one in?
Was it? It might have been. But my point
100
is
was the one that sped everything up, yeah.
Yeah. 80 to 85% of major international games, I would like to think, have Hawkeye tech already. It's just something that the ICC should incorporate, not even think about like twice. It's just right there, and it's saving you time as well.
So you've done the classic thing there. The ICC isn't in charge of all those international games.
True.
That's the problem, isn't it? Now, I don't know if this costs more or not, or if it's an add-on, or you can get it as part of your package, but that's the reason that we don't have better stuff. It's because, we don't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just going to bring this one comment up. It's not a super chat, but it's just funny as hell. Walking Alive is saying, fart-esque sneeze, bless you, after
I think I'm
your
okay.
sneeze.
I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, I would have told you if it was a fart. I actually did.
I'm pretty sure
for the crew the other day. They heard it.
I'm pretty sure when I was over for whatever 10 days at your place, there was a fart-esque sneeze. It happened. It was either you or one of your kids, but it happened for sure. Anyway, Moving on, of course, we've talked about the Hawkeye tech and how it should be, deployed all across major games in international cricket at the very least. Let's talk about the graphics for a bit. We'll come to the wet balls later. I'm saving that, right? And every single year of the IPL, and we always criticize the graphics one way or another. Our mate Himanish Ganju is always very critical of the graphics. They've kind of sort of nailed them this time. The colors are as per each team. All of the relevant information is there for everyone to see. And you've got that little fielding pop up just like straight out of a video game. I'm actually sure they have, incorporated from a video game. It makes a lot of sense and it really elevates the viewing experience.
I think the ICC were the first ones to kind of regularly do that, weren't they? I watch so much cricket of so many varying different leagues, I don't even notice the graphics, if I'm being honest. Like, maybe I thought the Fox graphics are really good on the Border Gavaskar Trophy this year, and that they gave me some information that I wouldn't normally get. But it's very rare I ever notice graphics, right? Until someone does something like the 100, right? Or someone uses a color that just bleeds, right? Like, other than those two things, I just don't notice them. So I know it's a big thing for other fans. There's the famous Reddit post of all the different countries in the world and the different graphics that they use and all that sort of thing. But it's not something that I pick up because I just watch so much cricket with so much variable different things on the screen that it's background noise for me. Honestly, until you guys in the chat were talking about the fielding graphic, I was like, have they got a fielding graphic? Like, subconsciously, I'd seen it because I was looking at the field. But consciously, I hadn't thought, oh, they've got a fielding graphic. But I've said this for a long time, and it has been used a bit, right? I mean, it's been used going back 10, 15 years. We've seen people try this. It's the best way to really tell hardcore cricket fans exactly what's going on the field. But also, if you really want to illuminate what... I don't think we use the field as a playing surface enough when we're trying to show people, educate people on what is happening on the field. So new fans probably can understand the fielding map more than they can that's gone to deep backward point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Plus, sure, the graphics are easy on the eye and they've kind of nailed that in my opinion. But what I would just slightly tweak over here is I'd keep the fielding graphic up at all times and maybe fix the placement. I know Varun was very critical of the placement, but why does it have to disappear? Because if I, as an analyst, am viewing the game and I get to see fielding changes on the regular, right? If it's moving in front of me, like let's suppose you move a guy from deep square leg to deep mid wicket. If I see that change happen on the little fielding map, it gives me more ammo or more stuff to talk about, I don't have to be as aware of the field setting at all times and kind of makes my job easier, no?
No, I just... It's something that we just have to get normalized, I think, in cricket. And once we do, I think hopefully everyone can do it. You can do it manually. It can certainly be done. Now it can be done automatically, but I've seen people do it manually as well. We just have to get to the point where we have this as a thing within cricket.
What I'm waiting for is someone deploys a funky field with a fielding position that is not in the system, and then they don't really know what to do with it. That's what I'm personally waiting for because, that happens in video games. You're like, oh, I want to field it there, but it just wouldn't let you.
Well, the last over today, when Rachin Ravindra was facing, I was like, oh, there's only 4 guys outside the circle. And I started thinking, oh, okay, that's clever because that's what I would have done. I would have put extra players in. And tried to steal a couple of dot balls because chances are he's going to hit a boundary, right? Like the extra fielder out was going to change. Turned out that the fielder was over the rope, I think, having a drink, and so the obviously the playing map had not picked him up. Yeah, and then suddenly he arrived, and then the ball got hit over his head anyway, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, well, I mean, lots of new fun stuff, and we've covered the wides, the graphics, and the last-minute nature of all of these things that happen in the IPL, which, I mean, beats the both of us because there is more value to release that news earlier, and it can be coordinated. But of course, we've got wet balls to talk about, and there's a lot to talk about over there. But before that, let us take a short break. You're watching Good Areas with Jarrod and Behram, and go nowhere because we're going to be talking about wet balls next.
From Virat Kohli's MCG 6 against Pakistan to Bumrah's stump-destroying Yorker to Ollie Pope. Incredible things happen on the cricket ground. We also get iconic lines off it, like Siraj saying, I only believe in Jassi Bai. There are so many incredible moments that cricket fans just never forget. And now you can wear them on your chest. Free Hit Gear has launched a line of amazing t-shirts and hoodie designs. Passionate fans in India can order through their website, freehitgear.com. while fans abroad can use free hit gear on the Etsy store to have items delivered to them. Order now with the code GOODAreas, all one word, to get a limited time 15% discount, and you can wear a t-shirt like this one right here.
Back to good areas. You guys are with Jarrod and Behram. And yep, it's time we finally address the saliva in the room. And we're back to spitting on balls, Jarrod. I mean, this was a COVID regulation initially where only sweat was then allowed to kind of shine the ball and saliva was out of the picture because it was unhygienic. They've brought it back. We can spit on balls again. My question to you is, sure, COVID's over, whatever. But dude, from what we kind of analyzed, it didn't make much of a difference when saliva was out of the picture and cricket functioned just the same. Why bring it back? And, you know, unhygienic stuff is back in cricket. Like, I just don't get it.
With a red ball, you've got like a leather case, right? And so when you get like a little nick in the ball, you can use the saliva to sort of move it back around and smooth it over so it's still smooth, right? White balls are painted. It doesn't work the same way. And so it doesn't have the same kind of case or sheen as a red ball.
Yeah.
So with a red ball, you could argue that if you're a swing bowler, you probably had something a little bit taken away from you. I don't really understand the point of it with a white ball. Maybe a brand new white ball is slightly different, and I could be wrong. And you're only swinging it for about 2 or 3 overs anyway, right? But let's imagine a brand new white ball you can do that with. I watched, you know, we've watched this. We've seen a couple of swing bowlers. We've actually seen quite a few wobble ball bowlers as well. So you're probably not going to see the same difference. I'm not expecting a lot more swing than we saw last year. This feels like to me, wasn't it Mohammed Shami who wanted it? Wasn't he the one who was the loudest voice for it?
Yes.
That's
he was really happy with that.
He's a really old cricketer. Like, I'm not having a go, but what I mean is he grew up in an era where everyone was told that putting saliva on the ball helped. We've just seen 4 years where it's basically done no difference, right?
Exactly.
The new ball, white ball, and new ball, red ball, absolutely dominating with no saliva, right? So realistically, I find it very hard to believe that this is a thing. The other thing for the saliva is in the old days for certain balls, I think Duke's was one, you would load up one side with saliva to make it reverse, right?
Yes.
So you would literally just weight the ball.
To that point, actually, we've got a super chat, so might as well address that right now.
Yeah.
Walking Alive is asking, how much of a difference does saliva actually make for reverse swing? So carry on.
Yeah, with the white ball, nothing is what I've been told at all. Because you can't load a white ball in the same way you can load a red ball. Again, I don't know the full difference, but essentially it's to do with the paint and the way the lacquer comes off compared to the way the paint comes off, right?
Yeah.
But no one, I don't know the last team, like when was the last time you've seen, like, do you remember, because you would know this, especially watching cricket in Pakistan, that sometimes you would see a ball come down and it would look like really sort of dark grey red on one side. And that was when they would load the ball on one side. I don't think anyone's done that since 2007. I remember having this argument with Matt Pryor, because Matt Pryor kept telling me, reverse swing, you want to get the ball as dry as possible, as dry as possible. And I was like, really? Because I know players who always told me that you had to load the ball up. And he was like, no. And then I realized that it had already changed by the time Matt Pryor had come through, right? Like, and he's been playing since what, 2000 probably he started his career. So that sort of loading was already starting to fade out in cricket at that point. So I can't see how it would make a big difference in reverse. I think I've seen Sandeep Sharma reverse 2 balls so far in this tournament. I don't think I saw anyone else. Varun, if Varun's not here, but if Varun had the stats, Sandeep's the only time either of us have seen it, either live or with data. So yeah, I don't really see how that is the case. And again, the game has moved on a little bit from that. So I was a bit surprised that they were interested in it, really, if we're being honest. I thought it was a bit of a weird one because the bowlers that I've been talking to, and remember, Mohammed Shami had been doing it for like 12 years and does ball swing.
Yes.
He might know something that the wobble ball bowlers don't, but the most of the bowlers I've been talking about are like, yeah, we didn't realize how little saliva did until it was taken away.
That's what my perception was as well, right? Because initially when COVID happened, I was like, ooh, this will change the game now. And then nothing happened, right? Like literally, we did not feel a difference at all. And now you're telling me that it doesn't even work on the white ball. So it's just one of those weird things that, we were moving towards a more hygienic future. And maybe, it took a pandemic for us to get there. And now we're taking a step back. Like, are we waiting for the next coronavirus, COVID-20 or something? Like, I just don't understand that.
I think if you're, and no one does this anymore, right? But I think if you had, like, I don't know, Tim Southey at one end and Matthew Hoggard at the other end, saliva would still be very helpful in a red ball game. And perhaps, and I'm only saying perhaps, but perhaps you get an extra 3 or 4 balls of swing in a white ball game, which could be very important, right? But there's almost no swing bowlers left in red ball cricket to do that, because even Tim Southey was bowling bobble ball by the end of his career most of the time, right? Jimmy Anderson had almost completely given up on swing. Sam Curran doesn't swing the ball. Like, there just aren't swing bowlers out there. And so I do think from that perspective, it doesn't matter. But on top of that, the fact is now that it's very hard to keep the ball smooth on both sides, even if you're using saliva, because you watch the wobble ball. Who was bowling it? Who's Spencer Johnson play for? Is it Gujarat?
No. Spencer Johnson is now playing for KKR, is it?
He was playing for KKR, yeah.
Yeah.
So he was bowling. Now, someone bowled the first over, and they were swinging the ball everywhere in the first over. And Spencer Johnson came on for the second over, and I was like, "Oh, awesome! Seam up, swing this ball back in, left-hander." And he just started bowling wobble balls, and I was like, "Well, that's just going to damage the both sides, because if you're bowling the wobble ball, you can't control if it lands on that side or that side. You're hoping it lands in the middle, but it doesn't. It quite often lands there or there, right? So it's, for me, I just think it's like a safety blanket for bowlers. I do think in red ball cricket it plays a slightly different part. But even in red ball cricket, if we've killed out all the swing bowlers, I'm just not sure that it's going to matter as much anymore anyway. But, I can understand why someone like Mohammad Shami would want it. It's the same that so many old cricketers want reverse swing anymore. And it's like, yeah, the reason we don't get reverse swing is because we actually bowl with the ball differently than we used to.
It also might just be a preconceived notion with some of the older bowlers, because they're like, oh, it was working for so long. Yeah. But also, this is an IPL rule. We still don't have any saliva involved in red ball cricket. So, I mean, it's quite a futile conversation in that regard. But here's another one, another super chat by Box related to saliva and balls. He says, Dan Weston said saliva unbanned would make new ball specialists more valuable, but I haven't seen anything like it. So, Khalil did well with the new ball today, for instance, right? I don't think saliva had anything to do with it, did it?
No. I mean, if it's the brand new ball, right? If it's saliva, what we should be seeing, and we should be able to see this in the data. It instead of I think the average ball probably swings for about, let's say, 9 to 12 balls, right? We should be seeing it go up by like 20 to 30 to 40%, right? It should be noticeable that the ball is swinging longer than before. It might swing further with saliva, but the first couple of balls, you're not putting a lot of saliva on anyway, because the ball's brand new, right? So once it gets damaged, and that's when it stops to swing, because it's hit the pitch a couple of times, it's hit the bat a couple of times, it's hit the outfield. If Travis Head and Abhishek are playing, it's hit, some concrete somewhere. So I think it was Deepak Chahar today that got hit when he was bowling. And the ball had been swinging right up into that ball, and I can't remember who it was. Someone clanged it off something, and it came back and it just stopped swinging because it probably lost, some of the lacquer or the paint from around the ball. So, what Dan Weston is saying is because he's had the same conversation with bowlers. I've just probably had some more different kinds of conversations with bowlers over recent times. There are bowlers who still believe in it, but as I said, the actual way that people bowl has changed, and that was happening even before the saliva ban came in. Swing bowlers were already disappearing, and I just don't believe that saliva. If we don't have the data to go back far enough, but if we went back, I don't think in the old days of the IPL it was swinging for 5 and 6 overs. And after the saliva ban, it's swinging for 3 overs. I just don't. As someone who's watching the game, I do not believe that's happening. I think what has happened is, you used to have swing bowlers with the new ball, and now you have wobble ball bowlers with the new ball, so you don't get as much swing anyway.
What the IPL admins were thinking was just to improve the immunities of players so that they don't get sick enough. I think that's where this was going.
When it comes down to it, it's probably one of those things where they're like, well, coronavirus isn't a big deal anymore. Like, I know it's still, people are still dying, but it's not a big deal in the way that it was, obviously, during the major part of the pandemic. The players want it. Let's bring it back and see what happens, right? That would be my guess from the outside. And if the players were, convinced this was going to happen, there might be, when I was I went to a panel at Sloan. It's a great story. There was a story, I don't think I've told you this yet, but you will love this, that there was a baseball stadium. I think it was the one that Baltimore were using, or it was certainly somewhere on the East Coast from what I remember. And suddenly every game, the overs kept getting hit for the betting markets, which meant everyone was like, there would be this many home runs hit, but there was this many home run hit, right?
Is it the wind one? Is it the wind one?
The wind tunnel. Have I told you this on already?
Yeah, you've told me the wind tunnel story.
Yeah.
But you can tell everyone else.
have I said it on air, or did I just tell you privately?
You might have told it to me privately. Yeah. I can't remember.
It's such a good story. Anyway, there's more home runs being hit, and no one can work out why. And then they work out in the stadium that there were 2 shipping containers that were moved, right? And that puts in a noticeable impact on the data. We're 3 games in. We can't be telling that there's we can't know if there's a wind tunnel here giving extra home runs at the moment, right? But 3 games in, there isn't a noticeable pattern at all. But even if you were to go back to before the saliva ban, you still had more traditional swing bowlers then. Like before the saliva ban, Sam Curran was a swing bowler, right?
Yeah. Sam
Curran now is not a swing bowler. And so we're seeing this whole generation of bowlers switching mid-career to bowl the wobble ball. So even if the saliva was right, how many swing bowlers are there left? My question is, can Spencer Johnson, is he skillful enough to be able to go, oh, this is swinging, I need to bowl seam up again? Because what I've been told is most players cannot go between wobble ball and swing, which is why Sam Curran doesn't bowl swing when he needs to bowl swing. He just bowls basically the wobble ball 90% of the time now, right? And that's the issue that we have here.
I mean, if I'm Spencer Johnson, I would want to swing it back into the right-hander, right? Do what left-handers do. But anyway, that's enough on saliva, I feel. Let's move on to the other wet ball story. This one I actually kind of like because we've seen that in Asia and in the IPL in particular, dew can be a problem in the second innings. And it does kind of tilt games in the favor of teams which are chasing. And it kind of takes the bite out of some contests as well because, it's a very obvious advantage. So what the IPL have done to kind of counter this is that after 11 overs in the second innings, and correct me if I'm wrong at any point over here, right? The bowling side has the option to change the ball once and have a different cherry, but not an entirely new cherry, right? No. Yeah. So I have gotten it right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
that
it's
is
10 overs,
kind of revolutionary.
Or do you mean between the 10th and 11th?
I heard Matty Hayden say 11. So I don't know.
Okay. I thought it was the 10th over. It makes more sense if it's 10th. Look, this has been a problem for a long time. I know there are a lot of people who believe places like Chennai have magic spray for their teams and Mumbai have magic spray for their teams. I've seen their teams be screwed over by this as well, right? Yeah. I think when it comes down to it, it is something that the home groundsmen are less likely to take the dew away when the home team is batting. Is something that is a big part of it. And that happens everywhere. That's not just a Mumbai Chennai thing. There is no magic spray because I think if there was a magic spray, it would have got out by now because other people around the world would have worked it out and it would have spread. So it's a huge issue. We don't really know how to handle it. It's not consistent. You don't know when it's coming. I think at its absolute worst, it can ruin an entire tournament, which is probably the World Cup that Australia won in 2021, right? I think that's a tournament that even if we believe the best team eventually won that tournament, which I kind of don't, but let's just say that we do, it doesn't really matter because it's like the toss played such a dominant role in that tournament that it's hard not to, especially for casual fans, and that's all they hear, they don't remember that Marcus Stoinis should have been called at deep mid-wicket, right, against Pakistan, right? They don't know all the other parts. They just know, toss, and then Pakistan lost it at the end. So it's a huge problem in cricket, and I would say that outside of the entire running of the game, it's probably the biggest problem that T20 cricket faces, especially in the markets where it can make the most money. right? So India and Pakistan, and the UAE, if you want to throw that in as the backup, those are the places where you can make the most money out of the game, and those are the places that get affected seemingly the most, right? So yes, we do have to fix it. It does ruin the game. This is a good step in the right direction. It's not a perfect system. A perfect system is probably hard to do, but a perfect system is really every time the ball gets just too much, you replace it. But the truth is that dew doesn't go away. So the problem with this system for me is I played junior cricket in Melbourne and we got dew quite a lot, right? Especially towards the end of the season when we got to finals, right? So all year you'd have no issue with dew, and then you finally got to the semi-finals and the finals and you had to deal with dew. And it was always this. We would quite often have a replacement ball due, so to speak, at that stage, right?
No pun intended.
You had to make a decision. And I remember under 14's captain and me on the same day, we were playing right near each other in semi-finals, and we made a decision. And I took it, and he didn't. And his point was that he was just going to get little dibbly dobblers to bowl straight and skid the ball on for a little while. And then once they got the breakthrough and it started to dry, he'd get the new ball. Whereas my thing was, I think we had the opposition 7 wickets down. I was like, if we could just get the 3 wickets in the first 10 overs of the new ball, we win this game, right? So you had to make those decisions. That's kind of what is going to happen here, right?
Can't we
what kind of decision that you want to have?
Can't we come up with some material which is waterproof leather?
I don't think the red balls react as poorly as the white balls do. So I don't know where the pink ball comes into this. Would be my. We probably should be using pink balls in white ball cricket all the way around the world by now. They should have at least been majorly trialed by now. I don't know though. As I said, we used red balls and we had dew in Melbourne, and it eventually got to the ball, right? Once the ball's old. So this is the thing that this is where I'm a bit confused, Behram, because, okay, so you replace the ball at the 10th over, you can bring on Sunil Narayan, Varun Chakravarti, maybe a part-time spinner for next 3 overs, right? Straight afterwards.
And then it gets wet again?
Yeah, because in my experience, and then are you just stuffed? Because the older balls react to dew much worse than the new balls. So the new balls are slippery and it's hard to hold them, but you're basically just trying to bowl seam up at that stage early on, right? Most games, right?
Yeah.
You turn a bowl seam up and you don't have a problem. The problem becomes when the ball gets slippery and you're trying to bowl spin or slow balls, right? And then the other problem with the ball is you can't do anything with the ball once the lacquer or the paint comes off it and all the moisture attacks to the underside of the leather, right? That's when they get absolutely ruined.
Wouldn't the umpire have that power then to change that second new ball as well? Because to my understanding, the captain can only ask for a change once.
That's what I mean. So for me, at the moment, I think this is a good step in the right direction because let's be honest, those idiots with the rope going around the ground, all they're doing is moving the moisture onto another blade of grass, right?
Yeah.
We all know. I'm not saying it doesn't do anything because I'm sure it does. I'm sure some of that moisture moves and hits the ground, right?
Yep.
But we all know that doesn't actually stop dew, right? So the only thing that we can start to do is this. But yes, I think for me, I think I was saying on a podcast the other day, maybe we need 4 balls, right? And the umpires need to completely be in charge of this. It needs to be completely independent.
Exactly. Just give that power to umpires, I feel. Just take it out of the hands of the captain, because then, of course, you can kind of, it becomes a strategic decision, for instance, that when do we get the ball changed? And then you raised the question, what if you add more saliva to the ball to kind of ruin it on purpose? Which I don't know if that actually works. But
I'm all in for that. If someone has enough spit glands to be able to get, that on, where you can actually say to the umpire, look how wet this ball is that they've been spitting on for the last 10 minutes. But the other thing is, and this doesn't happen as much, I would say about 10% of the time, 15% of the time, dew helps the bowling team, right? I don't know what you would call it. Let's call it soft dew. But you get a light film on top of the pitch and the ball just starts shooting through way quicker than you would expect. And that could cause problems, sometimes facing spin, sometimes facing pace. So if you've got that happening, you don't want that ball replaced, but then, so you've got to make a decision. And then unfortunately, by the time you make the decision, that you've missed your chance to replace the ball. And now it's got too wet and it becomes either unusable or soft or whatever that may be. But I just think in T20 cricket, we're probably already going towards baseball in some ways. And I think that's the next step, right? Of you just have to get, there probably has to be 4 balls or better. Look, this is the IPL. Do you know how much a ball costs?
No.
$120
Wow.
US dollars, right? They're not cheap if you're an associate team. They're pretty cheap if you're an IPL. Do you know what I mean? Like, so in that situation, I just think it's probably worse than doing it.
Yeah, I mean, the BCCI could use $120 to wipe their ass if they wanted to. But yeah, I mean, look, it is, as you said, a step in the right direction. It is not a perfect system, but I would like to see it play out a bit and how captains kind of manipulate or maneuver their way through it and what sort of decisions are made. And the more we see, captains take that new ball or umpires allowing them, the more we'll know of how this kind of acts out in an actual game.
We also, in 3 games, I know one was an early game, but we actually really haven't had any dew. I think the first game, we assumed dew was coming in, and there was a little bit of moisture seen, and then it didn't really come in. So far, we've managed to scare the dew off.
Yeah, and then also you have to kind of, if you know there will be dew, how are you using your bowlers from overs 6 to 10 or 11, right? Like,
I'm with you.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
You have to think a lot more, but I'm still for it. I feel like you need to counter dew in some way or one way or another.
I'm a big fan of this because it is a blight on the game, and we haven't done anything.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of the IPL for bringing in radical changes. I honestly like that aspect of this tournament. It's just that sometimes it's a bit too last minute, but I'm all here for it. Anyway, we've got a few super chats as well that we need to take. But before that, let us take a short break. You're watching Good Areas with Behram and Jarrod. Go nowhere. We'll be answering your questions very, very shortly.
Cricket media used to be pretty simple. Find your favorite newspaper, head to Cricinfo, and maybe a blog you like. Now just finding the best stories and writing is a huge challenge. You already have a job. You just want to read about cricket. Well, that is what the best of cricket is currently doing. They go out daily to find the newest cricket coverage and the best stories from any publication in the world. And when they can't discover what they want, they also hire some of the best writers to produce their own great stories. You can get the best of cricket via their website or on WhatsApp. They find cricket's best stories and give them to you every day.
Welcome back to Good Areas Live. You guys are with Behram and Jarrod, and we have about 5 super chats that we need to take before we end this show. And I mean, I need my sleep, guys, and Jarrod and I have a pretty important meeting tomorrow as well, so I need to kind of freshen up before that. Yeah.
I didn't.
Anyway, where do we start? Let me see. Okay, Abhishek Bhatti. Very, very generous super chat.
Thank you.
So thank you for that, Abhishek. He says, hi guys, love your content. It makes my life happier and sort of helps me through loneliness. Oh, well, you're welcome.
It doesn't
Abhishek.
completely help him through. Do you notice it only sort of helps him through loneliness?
Yes. I mean, any sort of help through loneliness will take, right? Love you both and your team. Right back at you, Abhishek. His question is, does the IPL have to follow the MCC or some fundamental ICC rules? Like, he thought all cricket rules are made by the MCC.
No. Do you know how to answer this, or do you want me to?
Go for it. You're the cricket laws guy.
So cricket laws are written by the MCC, and most cricket played in the world is played to those laws. But any competition in the world can use those laws, but change it for playing conditions. So you might have some random club competition where you need to, I mean, like in England, there are all different regulations that you have in your playing conditions all the way through. The 100 had to do that. So for those who don't know, the 100 was going to take away the LBW, right? It was Sky that actually said to them, Sky said to them, no, we're not putting it on TV. If it doesn't have an LBW on it, that sounds stupid. It would have been stupid. It wouldn't have helped the game. I don't see the point of it. But anyone who's ever played backyard cricket where there's no LBW rules will know that you just stand in front of your stumps all the time.
True.
Why would you not want people being bowled on TV, right? So yeah, you can do whatever you want. The laws are there as the basis, and it also helps all these different competitions so they can come up with their own things. But Test match cricket has different rules, and think about it from a perspective of DRS. DRS is not in the laws of cricket, right? That's
True.
Purely a playing conditions thing that everyone has brought in on their own.
Yeah, also the 2 bounces thing, right, is a very IPL-centric move, and I mean, I love it. But there are like tweaks that you can make to a franchise T20 tournament, and we've seen that.
I don't think there's any laws in cricket that say what can limit the number of bounces that you bowl in T20 cricket. Those are all playing conditions as far as I'm aware. but there would be limits on like bowling 6 bounces in a, or like as in from the laws, you could say, well, you're bowling like this, but we've seen that in Test cricket, so I don't know.
Yeah, very recently actually in the Ashes, if you think about it. Anyway, let's move on to the next question. It is by Rajma Chaul, super chat, which asks, is it just the IPL or other T20 franchise tournaments which also have grounds with ridiculous short boundaries? Chennai, Jaipur, Ekana, etc. are bigger grounds, whereas most others are smaller. Have you ever seen any game at Eden Park, Rajma? That's my question.
MCG?
Or Trent Bridge?
Trent Bridge is the worst. Trent Bridge is ridiculous because it looks like the rope's about 40 meters in from the boundary edge of Trent Bridge. And it's not even that big a ground. Like, it just looks silly. MCG on the boundaries on the side for T20 games are massively in. I mean, that's because they want sixes here, and hitting a 6 square of the wicket is pretty hard at the MCG. So, yeah, it's pretty common everywhere, I would say. The grounds in the West Indies aren't very big. The one thing I would say with India is that it is one of those places with smaller playing sizes.
Yes.
So it probably shows up worse or looks worse than it actually is. But yes, that's a common thing right across old T20.
Also, Rajma, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but at times the ground is big, but they bring the ropes in for T20 comps because they want more sixes. That is a very common
thought that's what
theme.
he meant.
Oh, is it that? Is that it? Yeah, that is kind of what he's meant, I think. Yep.
Yeah,
so
I'm
this
not
is
sure.
very
But
common.
that's the way I read it, was the MCG thing.
I've seen it in the PSL as well. So
yeah, PSL. I certainly, as you said, Trent Bridge were famous for it, but back in their great run. The MCG would probably be the one with the most unused space. Would be my guess. And I don't think I've ever been to a Blast game in Leicester, but I'm assuming at Leicester as well because that's another massive playing surface. Those, and the Oval is always in on. Again, it's those big square boundaries in MCG, Leicester, and the Oval.
Absolutely. So I actually do feel, Rajma, that they should have some sort of regulation wherever, they have a proper field, because Eden Park is just the sort of ground where you can't do that, right? Or perhaps
but the problem with the regulations is it's hard because Adelaide Oval is not a proper boundary square, right? And yet is twice the normal length long. So it is actually an easy thing to do.
If you can stretch it out is what I'm saying, right? Because it does kind of piss me off when I see too many miscues or top edges go for 6. It is a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah, I think also, one last thing on this. Sometimes you see green around the ground and you think there's more ground. Quite often that is AstroTurf and is there for the photographers and everyone else and all the match officials to be able to walk around the ground. So you're seeing unused ground, whereas actually that isn't unused ground at all.
And on the rare occasion, it's Chris Green, either playing or doing some broadcast activity.
Or Cameron Green.
Yeah, could be Cameron Green as well. Anyway, here's a fun one. We've got a super chat from our good mate, Path Right Winger, who was a regular super chatter, and I haven't seen him for eons. Hope everything's all right, Path. Welcome back. He says, saw the Saudi video. I really think you guys are underestimating cricket craze of Desi communities. 51% of Dubai population is India. And if we include Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, it's over 80%. We never underestimated it. In fact, if anything, we said that it kind of makes sense with the diaspora subcontinent populations in the Middle East.
So that's the first thing. So you're wrong there. But the second thing you're wrong on is, have you watched some of those T10, T20 leagues in those countries? PSL, did they have sold out crowds for the PSL games, Behram?
Nope, they did not.
No, they didn't.
They didn't even have sold out crowds for international cricket when Pakistan would play there, right?
Sometimes there are more people on the field for an IL-20 game than there are in the stands, right? Like,
fuck this part. Think about this. India just played a Champions Trophy in Dubai, and I barely saw a sold out crowd. I saw big crowds, but not a sold out crowd. Maybe one. That's
a very, very good thing. I mean, part of that might have been the late changes, but even then, it's Dubai. It's not that hard to fly to. It's a terrible ground in a terrible location, and I think we always have to remember that it is not easy for a normal worker in Dubai to get out to that ground and back again, right?
But what I will say though, Jarrod,
but we don't see sellouts.
Let's suppose that Saudi manages their Grand Slam league or whatever. They can market it to local, populations via television. Not that come to the games and watch the cricket, but whoever's living over there, they can kind of make it a big thing and have billboards and all of that stuff, and that could potentially work.
Yeah, one thing about Dubai is they don't actually seem to care that no one goes to the games. right?
Yes.
There is a big element of that. If you don't care, then these things go.
But like
yes,
from Saudi's perspective, they would want the stadium to fill up and they want more people to come from abroad for that final game in Saudi Arabia. That's the whole point of this, isn't it?
And the other thing is that they're not going to be playing that much cricket in. It's supposed to be a traveling league, so they're not relying on those people paths. So if you've got a problem, you should talk to the Saudis. I hear they love feedback like this.
Yeah. Also, I think like they even though they're saying Grand Slam format, it would be a Grand Prix format if they're having just one game in Saudi Arabia. They want to bring in everyone in for that one game or final or whatever it is.
Yeah,
and of course, as we know more, we will talk more about it because England is pulled out and whatnot. But anyway, who is next? It is the common man. He says teams can change the ball anytime between 10 and 20 overs. I think that's fine for T20. Maybe 3 or 4 changes are fair for ODIs. Well, that's the whole point that we were trying to bring up. That if you, let's suppose you take that or opt for the ball change in over 11 and the older ball gets fucked up or softer real quick, and now you're screwed for the last 5 overs. So what's the smarter thing to do? And how have you managed your bowlers after the power play leading up to the 10th over? Like all of these things are something like they have to be considered by the captain.
Yeah, there's going to be some big errors. And that's why I was talking about how we did it in club cricket. Sometimes you couldn't even be consistent in the way that you did it, right? You had to be inconsistent within that system of the game I was talking about before. My dad was the coach and he was screaming at me for taking it, and he was right, because it was going to be ruined really, really quickly. I just knew that we weren't going to get any wickets with the older. I knew how bad the older ball was, so you're constantly making. And as you said then before, who's fit, who's ready to bowl, who's got overs left, and all those sorts of things. And if you take it in the 10th or 11th over and the dew remains, so you almost have to wait for the dew to stop. So you get a dead dry ball from then on in. So it's a really tricky situation. And, you know, cricket is a pretty good... I don't think they do this enough, but cricket is now practiced with a ball in a bucket. Like, it is a thing that happens now. And it's really hard.
There's some bowlers who bowl well with a wet ball. Think Rashid Khan. Like, do I want to take that risk if I've got like 3 overs of Rashid? You know? Stuff like that. It's just a lot more to think about for captains, but I think they would take it as well, because everyone does kind of get pissed off at the wet ball. And maybe if you take it maybe in over 16, 17, nothing might hurt you. That might just be the perfect time. Who's to say?
There's a lot of people complaining at the moment that we're on our way to our first 300-run game. That does not say the end of T20 cricket to me. The end of T20 cricket for me is if we can't ever solve dew and we get like 25% of the games fizzle out. Right, because of something that we can't control. That would be a far worse thing for me than teams can now score 300.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going into a game saying, "Oh, let's see who wins the toss," because that's like half the game. That's what we want to kind of kill off. But speaking of 300 in a game, we've got the next super chat by Anish, who says, "Guys, are we getting 300 this season?" Or he thinks we are. Well, I mean, look, what I'd like to say is, today the Sunrisers went on and smashed 286 runs, versus Rajasthan. And last year, they set the record at 287 versus RCB. So this was the second highest total in IPL history. And last season, whenever this happened, we would be talking about it. Today just felt like any other Sunday. That's what's changed, hasn't it?
That is very interesting. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll get 300 because I think that pitch did a little bit at times. I think it helped the swing bowlers early on. It helped the spinners. For a while, and then it helped the slow ball bowlers, and they still almost made 300. And Ishan Kishan, it's a bit like the Dawood Malan thing when they didn't score 500, right? Like, you don't want to have a go at him, but him just going at 2 runs a ball when he was set, another day, either him or someone else is going to go at 2.5 runs a ball, right? Yeah. So I definitely think there's a big chance of getting 300. I've always said that one-day cricket and T20 cricket, batters have been too slow. They've been nervous. They've been conservative. I'm not going to be upset now. But what I find amazing is that everyone is going, "Oh, it's not a game for the batters. It's not a game for it's not a game for the bowlers. It's not a game for the bowlers." We've had 3 games, and they're basically split down the middle. Different times when the bowlers have been in charge and the batters have been in charge, and people have completely ignored that because we just had a big score. And it just tells you that people are so freaked out by this. So I don't have any issue with this. I mean, I want to see 84 plays 84. I don't want to see 310 plays 298, right? Do you know what I mean? I want to see both of these things happening.
Absolutely. You want to see variety in games and conditions and all of that stuff. But I mean, I don't even think it's a hot take anymore, Anish, to predict that we might see 300 this season. And I'm pretty sure, like Travis Head, in between IPL seasons, that's all he's thought about whenever someone has spoken to him about the IPL. Like, I will make sure that the Sunrisers get 300 this time, because he verbalized that desire last season. So yeah, I mean, they came close today. And if had they like promoted Heinrich Klaassen up the order, they might have even gotten there.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. Anyway, that's it for Anish's question. We've got a few more wet ball questions, or maybe these aren't even questions, but Palash Sasidharan is just telling us stuff in super chats. First, he says, if the ball is too wet, umpires can change 16th over onwards. So yeah, that's good info. And I think that's the right thing to do as well. And then he's also saying that dew also impacts pitch, can't be helped.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. It can go in both ways. I've seen wet pitches that just help the batters. Suddenly the ball is doing something and it just starts skidding on. And I've seen wet pitches that really help the bowlers. So that's a thing that unless we have a roof, right? I don't think we can sort those sorts of things out.
We might get a roof. The ECB is thinking.
Well, we have one roof. We have the Renegades, but the pitch is shit, so no one cares. But yeah, we are getting towards that level of cricket. There is so much money within the game that you could see. You might have a situation where the next major stadium in India has a roof, but not for rain, right? But it has a roof for something like this. And maybe that's what we have to do. Baseball, when the Houston Astros got a roof, in the 70s or something?
And then Blue Jays, they had a roof for the longest time as well.
Yeah, so...
They still have a roof.
And I understand it. They play 82, 81 games, whatever it is, at home, and we don't have anything like that in cricket. But if the IPL and the other leagues might catch up as well, if we get to that point, I think we have to start thinking about stuff like that. Having said all that, I have no idea if a roof helps with you. Now I've said it out loud. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is every second game, someone will contact me, say there's absolutely no chance of dew, or that we're definitely going to get dew, and the opposite always happens. That's all I know about dew is every time you expect it, it doesn't happen.
Even if we have a roof, there's got to be some sort of ventilation, and I would assume that dew would creep in to some extent. I'm no scientist, although I do have an engineering degree. I should know these things. But I mean...
I'm no scientist, I'm just an engineer, says Behram Qazi.
I do have a degree which says I'm a scientist, but no. Science is the man, though. That I'll agree.
Science is the man!
Yeah. I mean, we might get a roof in Hobart. We might get a roof somewhere in England. Let's see how that kind of unfolds. Final super chat of the day by Genius Genie. He says or asks, this is one big reason why it'll take a while for the IPL to become bigger than the NBA or English Premier League or anything else. They refuse to make it longer and their media coverage is horrible. Get it off, BCCI. Now look, we've been saying that the IPL needs to become a proper league for a while, but then I have that theory that they or the BCCI wants India to play as India and to win as India, which is also part of, kind of selling the sport over there. So what franchise tournaments allow them to do is kind of hog that window to themselves and get all the money within that window, which they're already making a lot of. And then also, if you think about it, right, we have these mega auctions and you cannot build a core for any team. And like Rajasthan was so good last year and I saw them today and I was like, oh shit, this team is fucked, right?
Not as good.
Yeah, it's just not a proper league in that regard. It'll always be a franchise league until these things change. My only concern over here is that they don't want this to change.
The big what if is if Lalit Modi wasn't driven out of the country in a shambles. I think we're already at 4 months and we're probably already at 12 to 14 sides, right?
Yeah.
That's what he wanted. They've been quite good with the playing conditions recently, but realistically, not a lot has changed with the IPL since Lalit Modi left, right? And
I mean, what I'd love to see is football-style transfers as well. And then you just sign a player for the entirety of the league and then have a clause that, hey, if you get a test series for your team or international, team or whatever, you cannot leave the IPL. Like, have those sorts of clauses. I don't know.
Well, I mean, eventually it won't even be a competition because I'll be getting paid so much more money for that. But realistically, this is where we're going, and it's just taking way longer than it should have. And this is where things like, instead of just investing in something that can help with the dew, we're just changing balls because we're not actually playing long enough to be able to maybe put a roof up or work on something else for these sorts of things. And so the IPL will eventually probably squash most cricket, although,
Yeah.
shout out to the Saudis, I suppose, at the moment. But the IPL will probably squish most cricket, right? When it does, it will actually, probably there will be a follow-on that even if the rest of cricket is second and third tier, right? There will actually probably be a lot of things that we learn from the IPL that we can be better. And so it's stuck in this weird system that made sense for the first 5 years of the IPL and now probably don't. But if you love international cricket, you're like, I don't mind if the IPL moves slowly.
True. Also, I just feel like they're more keen to start a second IPL or something. I just don't think they're thinking long term over here in terms of like a 6 to 7 month league.
They're not. It's not. The BCCI is not a dynamic sports entrepreneur, right? They're not.
Yep.
They're a bunch of older guys with conflicting interests and political beliefs against each other, and you've got different regional people, whatever. When it was Lalit Modi and he was out of his mind on goofballs or whatever it was, it's just like, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this.
And
right?
India, Jarrod, is high on franchise sport. Like, they love the format. They've done it in football, hockey, everything. The EPL and Kabaddi. The EPL and NBA has been around for long, or years before the IPL. It's not a radical shift. It's they're staring at us, but they're opting not to go for it, right? So there's got to be some sort of reasoning behind it.
Yeah, I just think it's conservatism and it will change naturally over time. But I'm not expecting it to change quickly at the moment.
Yeah. Anyway, as we were answering that super chat, we've got 2 more. Let's wrap this up quickly so that I can sleep. We've got the scene uploader who's asking, Sunrisers 350 versus Shardul Shamar Shabazz Bishnoi at Hyderabad. I mean, that could happen.
We could see some crazy scores against some of these attacks. And I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's a solid shout. It could very well happen versus Lucknow. And then Anish with a last super chat, hopefully for the day, says or asks, Jarrod, what would stop India from winning the 2026 T20 World Cup? Is it form? I mean, at this point, you'd argue that it can't be form because they just won a Champions Trophy by not playing their best cricket.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't play their best cricket, but I don't think they had like 4 or 5 people. If you have a small tournament like that and 5 players are out of form at the same time, right? And you can't change them all. Do you know what I mean? It can actually affect you quite a bit. Pitches, but one-off knockout games. The aim for India is not to win every single tournament over the next couple of years. The aim for India is to make sure that they're in a position to win every game, knowing that Travis Head could come up against them and make 200 in a game, and Heinrich Klaasen could make 150, and Rabada can come on and take 4 wickets in 4 balls. Like, those players are not going to cease to exist. And in knockout games, whether it's, football or cricket or any of these things, you only need one fluke thing from someone else and it changes.
Anyway, that kind of wraps this up. And sometimes dumb luck can also prevent you from winning a tournament.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And yeah, like, think of this. There was so many years or so many football World Cups where Brazil was the dominant side. And Brazil does have 5 World Cups, to be fair, but they don't win all of them, right? So there's that. Anyway, thanks for the super chats, guys. And that's it for this episode of the Good Areas live podcast. And just a quick reminder, you can go to goodareas.co and bookmark that webpage, and that can prove to be your one-stop shop for all the work that we do as part of this team, whether it be written content, videos, or podcasts. We'll be with you soon enough on some other podcasts, but that's all for today. Have a good one. Enjoy the IPL, and see you soon enough. Goodbye, guys.
You want to swing wildly at the internet like you've got the new pill in your hand, but you keep getting dead battered. Find the movement you want with NordVPN. They are our protection against terrifying cyber threats and wide-battered geo-blocks. NordVPN will help you get through any rights restrictions so you can watch all the cricket you want. We aren't always happy with the wickets we're on. Sometimes we need a change. NordVPN can switch your virtual location so your IP address is ready to cash in. So if you need to get around the internet's rules, or I suppose in our case laws, select NordVPN. They can help you watch a game on a cheaper stream in another country. Give NordVPN the ball and let them penetrate all your vast internet issues. Because if you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free.